Well, hi, everyone. We are excited to be with you today. Coach Leanne, who's in Virginia right now, is with us on our Facebook, and we're going to soon go live on Instagram. Let me do that.
Well, hi, Connie. I see you're here and you're in Franklin, Tennessee. I'm going to be driving right through your town, I think, today on my way to Knoxville. I believe. I could be wrong, but it's beautiful out here in the East right now.
Hi, Instagram friends. We're so glad to see you joining us live as well. And YouTube people, thank you. We are excited to talk about how do you love, and we put him because most of you who follow us are in a him relationship with somebody who's a him, and you're having struggles with him in marriage. But we also think this is relevant. How do you love someone? It might be like, how did I love my mom who was destructive? How do you love someone who doesn't love you back, or they don't love you well back, and you're hurt by that? You're hurt by that. How do you love someone without losing yourself? And can you love someone and still not have a great relationship with that someone? Right? So we're going to talk about that today. And I would love to hear if you're in that situation and God calls us to be lovers, not haters. He calls us to overcome evil with good. And so we're called to love even our enemy. But sometimes for Christian women in Christian marriages, we have been taught that the two become one. And when the two become one, all of a sudden you don't have a choice, you don't have a voice, you don't have ideas worth listening to, you don't have activities worth doing because you're supposed to do everything he wants you to do or take care of the house he wants you to take the way he wants you to take care of the house, or you have kids and so you're a wife and you're a mom and you're a role. You're a maid, you're a sex object, you're a role, but you've lost you in this desire to create a we. And there's a beautiful, beautiful plan in scripture for you to become a we. The two become one, but it doesn't mean that you still don't have an I. He still has an I in order for you to create a healthy, strong we. So if you have to lose you to love him, there's something wrong there. And so we want to talk about how do you love someone so you don't get bitter about that because they may not love you back the way you want them to. They may not value you the way you want them to. You may not have a good relationship at home. But do you lose you in order to accommodate them? Is that wise, biblical, smart, healthy? What do you think? What do you think? Give us some of your thoughts. Yeah, so good to see all of you too on Instagram. Have you lost you in order to love him or her? For me, in loving my mom who was destructive, and sometimes it's easy to lose you in loving your children. Like we're so over, Leanne, you use that word, over. My son accused me of something. I think I shared it at a Facebook Live before, but let me share it with you because we were talking about abuse because I work in abuse. He works in abuse. He works with domestic violence as well as a grant writer for state agencies. But he was talking to me and he said, Mom, he said, you abused me too. And I said, what do you mean? Like I was flabbergasted because I was abused. There was no way anyone was going to accuse me of abusing my children. And he said, it's called white collar abuse. You were too good to us. You were too easy on us. You didn't make us go through hard in order to build our muscles. And so my love was mushy, but my love wasn't firm. Right. And so sometimes we lose ourselves in order to love someone else, and we don't give our full deck to the person because we're afraid. We're afraid they're not going to like us. We're afraid they're going to be mad at us. We're afraid that, they won't accept us. And so what is your struggle with loving someone well without losing you? Liam, what are some of your thoughts as I've been rambling?
Oh, Leslie, it's just such an honor to be here with you today. And, you were using some words that I just love. And as we're coaching with women, as we're walking with others, and as we're navigating our own relationships, we can own the fact that relationships can be really hard sometimes, but they don't need to be harmful.
Yeah.
And I think, this is where when you were talking about this, the soft, cushy bubble wrap, basically, that you put around your son, I could be accused of doing some of that as well, and I can also be accused of being kinda hard on them sometimes. I was a little bit of both. I'm a mom of 2, grandma of 7, and, I've got my own view that I look at the world through. And so part of this whole idea, you said a full deck. You said a full deck. And I'm thinking of a game of cards. How many of you are card players? How many of you are card players? Okay. There's a few games that I love. Some are cultural, within different parts of the country, and some everybody knows, like slapjack. All right. And so when we walk into relationships, Leslie, I have this image that just popped into my mind as you said full deck. When we walk in, we can hold our cards very close to our chest and not let others see us out of fear, or we can play a wide open hand and let everybody see all things. And I have been on both sides. I have held very close and I've played it wide open and overshared, overtalked, overserved to people maybe who hadn't shown that they were trustworthy yet.
Hmm.
And so I'm curious even to ask our friends, just as you asked our friends some questions, how do you play your cards? We're here talking about husbands, but it could look a little bit different in the workplace, with a neighbor, in your community. So thanks for bringing up the visual of a full deck.
We have a couple comments that to some things I said that I think are really important. Emma Leah Maria said, I feel it's an idol. And I think this is so spot on. I feel it's an idol if I lose myself to an abusive partner. I would add to anybody. I feel it's an idol if I lose myself to please someone, to get their approval, to an abusive partner, to anybody. Just like what you're saying about giving all of ourselves to children, we should only lose ourselves to Christ. And Jesus says, I pulled it up in Matthew, he says the exact same thing that you just said. In Matthew, I'm going to have to find my glasses here because my Bible print is getting smaller and smaller. It says this in Matthew 17. He says, or 16, if you want to be my follower, turn from your selfish ways, take up your cross and follow me. If you try to hang on to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for my sake, in my relationship with you, you will find your life. So Jesus isn't asking us to just become a robot. He's not asking us to become a role. He's put desires inside of you. He's put abilities and gifts for a purpose. He's put even certain values that are important to you for a reason, for you to grow and develop those and use those for his kingdom. But when you are the servant of another master, those will never be developed as God wants them to be developed because you're too afraid of disappointing. You're too afraid of their rejection. And so God's calling you to, yes, die to yourself with him so that he can get rid of that fear of disapproval, fear of rejection, because you don't have that. Perfect love casts out fear, right? And you can play full out. And so I need their approval in order for me to be fully alive. I need their love in order for me to be me, is casting yourself before an idol of saying, they're my God, not this God, but that's who I'm going to die to myself for. And that's not what Jesus is asking you to do. So thank you so much for that comment. It's beautiful. And then someone else said, what else did I thought this was really also important, Britt? You said, I've pushed my wants aside, my desires that God put inside. And we can have selfish wants too, for sure. But sometimes God's put certain desires or certain thoughts or certain ideas in us for a reason. He wants us to develop them. I've pushed those aside to make the other person happy repeatedly. But then I get hurt when they don't reciprocate. There's two issues here. I'd love for you to speak to that, Leanne. I've pushed because you're really an expert in knowing how to do that well. Pushing yourself aside in order to make someone happy. And then, of course, we get hurt when there's not reciprocation in the relationship. because it's a one-sided relationship. But I think it's really important for us to understand sometimes we do push our wants aside for a relationship, for the moment, but not forever. And if that's what we have to do in order to keep this relationship alive, there's something really wrong. But Leanne, speak about that, because I know you've had lots of time of talking with people pleasing and people pleasers, and trying to create reciprocity in a relationship with people. And sometimes it works really well, and sometimes it doesn't.
Well, it's really true. Sometimes it does work well, and I think that is one thing. Let's just normalize that there are going to be people that you're going to navigate life with and journey with where it's going to seem like you are always in flow. And then there's going to be others that you are going to feel like you are in the bumpiest waters you have ever been in. And so knowing that it can be both and that you can participate in both types of relationships if you don't lose yourself. And I think one thing that's key, like you said, I was an expert. Is the definitive word, okay? I was an expert at putting myself aside to meet the needs of everyone else. I'm grateful that I am turning in that expert status and growing into owning more of who I am and declaring personal responsibility and self-awareness. And so when I can acknowledge the fact that there are both and in my relationships, and that I can have tendencies because of all my life experiences to give in or turn my back on myself. I call it self-betrayal. Self-betrayal. And so I have to work very, very hard to continue to remind myself to be aware of what I'm thinking, feeling, and what I need. My needs are important and my wants are important. And I think as good Christian girls, we can forget that our needs and our wants can have space in our relationships. But if we're going to be able to live that out, we're going to have to identify what they are. To ourselves first, to God, ask Him to reveal what is it that I need most? What is it that I want most? What matters most, God, right now? Because I can get in my own way. And this is where, having that deck of cards, it's like, okay, I've got a full straight here and I want to go, or I've got a full house and I want to go for a large straight. So what am I going to discard in order to do that? So sometimes it's going to be, some things are going to have to give way so that I can make room for other things. And it's a lot of self-reflection, Leslie. And you know me, I love values work. It's a lot of claiming our identity and owning who it is that God designed us to be in the midst of our relationships. It's big.
And if we get back to really, how do I love him or someone without losing me? Step one, I mean, we're going to make this really practical. Step one is you can't lose a me that you don't know.
That's
You
right.
can't lose a
Self-awareness.
me that you can't define. And
Mhm.
so the work that is first and foremost is not demanding that someone change. It's for you to look at you and say, wow, what do I want? Why did God said he has made me fearfully and wonderfully, created me to be me. Now, there's sinful parts of me that God didn't put there. That's just part of our humanity and our fallenness. But there's beautiful parts, God's image in us. And Paul says, we're to move beyond the childhood stage. We're to move into full maturity. And what does that look like? Who am I? What was I created to be and do and want? And pay attention to that. That's not selfish work any more than taking a shower, brushing your teeth, or cleaning your dishes is selfish work. It's stewardship. It's stewardship of the body that you've been given. It's stewardship of the home you've been given, and stewardship of the gifts, the mind, the emotions that you've been given. And in order for you to steward something, you have to know it and pay attention to it. You have to know, we've done this before in our Facebook Lives, but a healthy person may not take a shower every single day, but they know when they need one, right? They know when they need one. They know. And if they don't know, and their friend or their spouse says, I think I'm smelling a little BO here, or, you've got lipstick on your teeth or whatever, we don't get mad at them. We self correct. because we know that taking care of ourselves physically and the way we look is important. It's not wrong. But do you know how much sleep you need? Leanne talked about our needs. And do you compromise that in order to over function for someone who should be taking care of their own needs? Nobody takes my shower for me. And sometimes we're doing for people what they should be doing for themselves and calling that love when maybe it's dependence, it's codependence, right? So, how do I love someone without losing me? It might be I say, I think you can do that yourself, and I need to go to bed. I'm really tired. How would that go over in your relationship?
Hmm.
Right. Or, hey, no, I'm not going to remember for you to bring your lunch to school. That's your job to remember for you to bring your lunch to school. Your lunch is sitting right there. If you forget it, guess what? You're going to be kind of hungry today. Right. Instead of me having to give up my hair appointment or my get out of work to go take your lunch to school because you weren't responsible. Loving is letting someone experience the very real consequences of maybe their poor choices because they're not taking responsibility for themselves. And we feel bad. And so we over function and call that love when maybe it's creating more of a problem for them and it's exhausting you.
Mhm. Les, I love that you brought that up. There's so many things. And, I wanna take a pause here for a moment, and let's define, how do you love him? What is love? Because everyone is going to have a different view of what loving someone looks like, sounds like, feels like, tastes like, and smells like. So, may I share a personal example?
Please do.
Okay. So, we are on a road trip right now. We're on a road trip right now, and so we are traveling in the car all over the place right now. And for me to get on this Facebook Live today, I could have said to my husband, "You're going to have to figure out how I'm going to be able to get to a library on time so that I could be here with Leslie and show up ready to go." I could have done that. That would have been loving to him because he would have loved to have all the control in the situation. Can we just be honest? Guys love to have control on the road. Maybe I'm alone in that. My guy does. Okay. But if I bear all vulnerability here, I thought about this very carefully this morning. And I thought, how can I love him without losing me? The topic for today. So, knowing that my husband's a planner, knowing that he is, I got to get somewhere when I got to get there, the way I want to get there, I plugged everything into my GPS. I got out the road atlas. I mapped the whole thing out. I plugged in everything into my little, computer here, and I found the way. I took responsibility to make sure that my wants and my needs were reasonable. Were they going to be acceptable fully to him? That was going to be his. So part of me not losing me is knowing, are my expectations reasonable? Am I taking responsibility for what is mine? Because Leslie, I think for me in my overing world, I would have 20 years ago put everything on my husband and had him figure it all out. I would have been very dependent on him doing it, thinking that I was being honoring, when the truth of it was I was abdicating any responsibility for my own schedule. And so when I presented everything to him while we were driving, I had the address of this location. I had how many minutes it would take to get here, what I was going to need. I knew everything. And I was very clear about how I saw this to be played out. And so I just wanted to share that as I'm living this in real time. I have, I've been married almost 40 years. Some of it has been, right, ups and downs, twists and turns, and we've always not seen eye to eye. What we're trying to do right now is learning how to give and receive love. And so, Leslie, I think that that is another key point that I would put out there is be a student of yourself, a student of the people that you wanna love well, knowing yourself well enough to know what you need to do to give and to receive love. And
I think
yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. No,
I think
that's
that's so beautiful, that practical illustration, and I love that you, instead of waiting for someone to, what happens is we put our needs, we hope that they'll reciprocate, like the person
that's
said
right.
in Facebook. We hope that they'll love us like we love them. We hope that they're going to think about us like we think about them. We hope that. And then when they don't,
They
like
might
they
not.
don't remember Valentine's Day. They don't remember that you had a Facebook Live and plan, your itinerary to get to the library on time. They didn't even think about it. We're like really hurt because they don't love us like we love them. Like we would think about all that. We would plan for all that. And so it's really important for us to pay attention to that. And if that's the kind of person that we're married to or that we're in relationship with, what does it cost us to depend on them to meet our needs? And then we've never articulated them, or maybe we have articulated them. Hey, I need to get to the library at a certain time this time. And he completely blows you off. Well, that's not going to work for me because I wanted to go golf and hit balls in the morning and I'm not going to get there on time. And then you're like, oh, well, what about my needs? And we just stew. And if this is you, if you're in this kind of situation with people, I want to invite you to come
Mhm.
next Thursday. Not this Thursday, but next Thursday, because we are going to do um, a webinar. I'm going to do a webinar on I'm not okay when you're not okay. So if he's acting up and he's not cooperating with your agenda, like Leanne, not saying he wasn't at the time, but if he wasn't, and then we get all rattled, and then we don't love well in that moment because we're saying snarky things, we're reacting, we're put in a position of deficit. We don't have what we need. We didn't get enough sleep because we stayed up with you to watch the movie you wanted to watch, instead of saying, no, I can't stay up with you because I've got to go to bed. No can be a loving word. Hey, I'd love to do that, but I can't do it on a weeknight. I'm just too tired. I need 8 hours of sleep. So, can we love and still say no and protect us? And if you're with someone, and many of you are, who do harm you, who their definition of love is that you do what I want, when I want, how I want now. And if you don't do that, you're not loving. And it doesn't matter if you argue with them about what real love is, or you show them with the Bible what real love, they're going to hurt you or harm you if you don't act exactly how they want you to act. So, my question to you, if you're in that place, you're not okay. You're not okay. You're physically not okay. You're emotionally not okay. You're mentally not okay. You're spiritually not okay. And many of you are financially not okay.
Mhm.
So, when you're not okay because he's not okay, what do you do? What do you
Mm.
do? And so, we're giving little tastes. How do I love someone and still protect myself? How do I leave someone if I have to leave someone and still love them with Jesus's love, but not allow them to continue to harm me? And so this is a $1 million question for Christian women in destructive marriages. But it might be minor. It might be more minor. Like my kid's not okay and I'm not okay. Or my mother's not okay. She's constantly criticizing me for not visiting her and I'm not okay because I feel like a guilty daughter. How do we get out of that codependent cycle that our well-being, our okayness is 100% dependent on them? Because what we do, ladies, is we start to fix the problem of me not being okay by trying to change them.
That's right.
And how's that working?
Or trying to change them or hiding us. Or hiding us, and so, truth be told, my husband was not thrilled with the fact that I was going live today, and I've had coaching clients today, and all the things. It was not thrilling for him, and at first, he was not excited. I don't think he would mind me sharing that. The truth is he was not excited about having to do this. The
Because it
Leanne of
impacts his day. He can't
it
just keep
impacts his
driving
day.
to the next location or do the things he wants to do with the car.
Right. And so here's the deal. So a dozen years ago, the Leanne of, over a decade ago would not have been okay. I would have turned into a puddle of goo, or I would have raised my voice. Some of you have heard my story, pound on the dashboard of the car and say, "Aren't you listening to me?" That is not okay. That's not okay. That's not who I want to be. So when I got a little pushback today, Leslie, I don't know any other way to be except for vulnerable. So when I got a little pushback today, I had a choice to make in the moment of how was I going to handle the pushback of, I don't think we can do that. And I don't think that's going to work and all the things. I had a choice to make of what I was going to say, who I was going to be, and what I was going to do. Was I going to let myself lose it and not be okay because he was uncomfortable? Or was I going to pause for a minute, take a breath, and tap into my toolbox that I coach women on every day? Was I going to walk my talk and put into practice what it is that I coach around and what it is that we're talking about today? And I did. I spoke to who he is. I gave opportunity. Look, you're going to have an opportunity as well to go to the library and get some of your work done. Look how we could use this time. How might we make the best out of this hour and a half? And say, this is a non-negotiable. And so knowing what your non-negotiable, knowing the cards that you're going to play, the most important ones, is part of how we love others without losing us. The self-awareness and the taking personal responsibility for what matters to you. And what matters most to me is honoring God with my time, my talents, my treasure, whatever it is, whether I'm on the road or not. Doesn't matter where I am. It doesn't have to be situational. And part of that is owning our values, knowing them and communicating them. And Leslie, you do such a beautiful job of communicating that in the webinar. So if you have not saved your seat for the workshop, do it. Click that link. Click that link.
Yeah. And for some of you, may have to go to the link. I don't know if they're putting it in Instagram or not. I think they are. But if they aren't, let me just read it out loud in case you're listening to this and you don't see the link. We are doing 2 sessions of free training. So let me explain. Some of you have been to some of my workshops before. We do a lot of free stuff for people, and we believe in that. We, as an organization, we believe in giving people the information they need to know to get well. Biblical information, Christian information that's surrounded with Christian wisdom and Christian values, because sadly, there's been a lot of misinformation, even taken straight from the Bible, but twisted in some of the good information, or the rest of the information left out or misused in oppressive kind of ways, especially for women. And so we want to help you. If you're a Christian woman, get really clear. Yes, God doesn't want you to hate your husband. God wants you to be loved, but you may not be loved by your husband like you want to, but God loves you. And one of the things that you need to get really clear on is that your self-identity and who you are doesn't get to be defined by your husband unless you let him. And that's abdicating who God says should define you, and that's him. And so if you're struggling with this, like, I don't feel loved, I don't feel worth it, he's rejecting me, he's cheating with other women, he lies to me, who am I? I'm nobody. That's not true. He might treat you like a nobody. People treated Jesus like a nobody, right? That doesn't mean it's true. And so, girlfriend, I want you to come to this free workshop. It's August 15th, next Thursday. I'm going to do it 2 times live. We're going to take it off of Facebook. We're going to take it off of Instagram, because I want you to have the freedom to speak the truth to me and in the chat without worrying someone's going to go to your social media account and look at what you said. And so we're taking it off of social media. That's why you have to register. So we can send you an email the day of the webinar with a link that says, go here to watch this workshop. I am going to teach you the single most important thing that you must do if you want to stop depending on him to change in order for you to be okay, or depending on your mom to change in order for you to be okay, or depending on your pastor to change in order for you to take action for yourself. I'm going to teach you what are some of those tools in your tool belt so that you can know who you are, know what's important, live by your values, and still love. And what does love look like? If your husband's deep in sin, up to his eyeballs in porn, loving isn't being silent. You are his helpmate. That doesn't mean you can twist his arm and get him into treatment, but it does mean that you are going to be courageously committed to the truth. This is not okay. And if this is the man you want to be, okay, I accept that, but I can't do life with you because it's harmful to me. That's being authentic and honest with the impact his choices are having on you and your kiddos, and still saying, if this is who you want to be and you don't want to get help and you don't want to change, I have to live in truth. The truth sets you free, right? And so we're going to talk all about what are some of these tools that you need to transition from please change, please change, please change. You're driving me crazy. I can't take it. I can't take it. He's cheating on me. He's lying to me. I can't change him. I keep trying to change him. Maybe if I love him more, maybe if I watch porn with him, maybe if I have do this or do that, and you're exhausted. That's right. And you're becoming as unhealthy as he is in a different way, but as unhealthy as he is. Ladies, your kiddos need one healthy parent, at least one of you, in order for
No
them to
matter can I
not be.
just can I
Yeah,
just say, Leslie, something about that? No matter what their age,
yeah.
okay? We're not just talking little toddlers here needing one healthy parent or teenagers. All the way through their life. There's something so beautiful, as a grandma now, there's something so beautiful about the truth that I'm doing the work that I need to do on me to become that healthier woman before the Lord
Mhm.
for future generations. So I just wanted to put that out there for those who are tuning in that may be empty nesters. They don't have any kids at home and they just tuned you out saying, well, my children need one healthy parent. Well, it doesn't matter what, we're all somebody's child.
Yeah.
And you know what? God wants you to be healthy. And we're his girls first.
Yes.
So
So
thank
if
you for
you
that
need to have
encouragement.
those tools to know how to do that, we want to invite you to come to the workshop. You have to sign up so that you get the link to join. It's going to be an hour long, the workshop. It's going to be held at noon Eastern time, just like now, same time, different spot. And we're also going to do an evening one at 7:30 p.m., which is, I'm not going to do the replay. I'm going to be live at the workshop both times. And then after the workshop is finished, I'm going to stay. Usually we stay for an hour and a half or two after the workshop to answer your questions. And we want you to have the freedom to be able to ask real questions without worrying about it being on social media. For those of you who say, oh, I'm on vacation, I'm going to be in Europe, I can't do it, or whatever, I understand. You will miss a lot of value if you don't show up live, because there's something very confirming when you have hundreds of other women say, me too, me too, me too, me too, me too. You don't feel
Mhm.
so alone. There's something very confirming when you're having an opportunity to talk, not live, but with, text on the camera to someone who can answer your specific question. So the workshop itself will be recorded. You will get a full workbook that will help you remember what we're talking about in the workshop, so you don't have to write so frantically. And that will be our gift to you. If you can't show up, you'll get a replay of that. What we will not include in the replay, however, is any of the chat, and we will not include the question and answer time, because we believe that you deserve safety in a live environment as much as we can protect. We can't protect it in this environment, so be careful what you put in the chat. But in this protected environment, in a specific webinar, the only person who owns that is me. And I'm not going to send out the chat, and I'm not going to send out the Q&A to someone who just registers for the webinar, because I don't know who they are. We have people monitoring who shows up at the webinar and the chat. And if there's some snarky comments, we just kick them off. But if I just send that information out to everybody, I don't know who's going to get that. And so I want to protect you. And so you don't get the opportunity to see the Q&A, to listen to it, or to see all the chat and the questions and the responses in the chat that sometimes are very wise and very affirming from other women who might be 2 steps ahead of you in this journey. So if you struggle with being emotionally dysregulated, mentally confused by other people's unwillingness to change, it seems so easy. If only you would stop, we'd be okay. If only you'd stop yelling, our kids wouldn't be so afraid of you. If only you'd stop drinking, we could have a life together. If only, yeah, that's all true, but he's not. And guess what? He's a person too. And he gets to decide, not you, how he wants to live his life.
Mhm.
And if it's like a tomcat, or a liar or a cheat, and that causes harm to you, then you get to decide how much impact is too much impact. And
And
that's
any
why it's so important to love without losing you. Go ahead, Leanne. I'm sorry.
It is. Well, no, I just get pretty fired up about this as well, that the impact, if you lose you, the impact is too great. God's got work for you to do, girlfriends. He's got a plan for you, for a future, and for a hope. And you don't want to lose the best in you as you navigate your relationships. I often say that some of the most challenging moments in my relationships have been the one that have grown me up the most.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And, we travel often in the summer because Phoenix gets super hot. So this is my third summer of doing some travel. Some of it's real minor, some of it's a little bit longer periods of time. And so part of how I don't lose the best in me while I'm doing this is to do a little bit of reflecting back about what worked well and what didn't work well in the past, and then putting that into practice.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so every day is a learning opportunity. Right here in this live, you're hearing us share real authentically and vulnerably with you about how do we do this? If the impact on you is that you are losing you, then the
Or you're
impact
getting sick and your kids are getting sick.
right. I mean, okay, let's be real. High blood pressure, rapid heart rate. Are you not sleeping? Is there insomnia? Are your children?
Are you depressed? Right.
Are
All
you
these things
so
are impact. Yeah.
yeah, are you so anxious that you can't make a decision? Is procrastination the cloud over you
Mm-hmm.
as you're trying to plan and step forward?
Mm-hmm. What does it cost you? What
Yes.
does it cost you to not change? What does it cost you to keep the same thing going because you're afraid? We're going to talk about this in the webinar. We're going to talk about a love based on fear and a love based on truth. We want to love in truth, or to speak the truth in love. We're not
Mhm.
to love in fear. That's not really love, right? It's accommodation. It's people pleasing. And so we really want to help you learn the difference as a Christian woman. And what does God call us to? And so show up, sign up for the workshop. We want to open up some questions now. We've got a couple of questions that we want to answer before we leave. So if you have a question, put it in the Facebook Live or in the Instagram, and our monitor will pick it up and put it in here for us so we don't lose it. We've already answered the first question, how long will the workshop go? It goes about an hour, but then we stay afterwards. And not only me, but I'll have one of my coaches on, and we'll go back and forth so that we have a little bit more energy to answer more questions. Because sometimes after talking for an hour, my voice is going. And so we have another coach who's coming on with us both in the morning and on the the evening session, so that we will be answering your questions for another hour or more afterwards. And so we try to do that to really accommodate all the guests who show up, and they want to ask some questions that are more personal, but they don't want to do that on Facebook. And you shouldn't do that on Facebook. It's just too risky for you. Here's a question. I'm tired of my destructive marriage, tired of the emotional and verbal abuse. I deserve better. I've cried too many times I can count on since 2021. I've been strategizing a plan with my therapist to give the marriage time to see if anything changes. For me to save up money so I can potentially leave with my toddler son sometimes next year. I haven't worked full time since he was born, so I have no money to get an apartment to leave right away. Any feedback on this or advice? Leanne, you want to take that?
Sure. So thank you for being here, and thank you for your vulnerability. And I do just want to share that if this was a public question, just know this is Leslie's public page. Not sure how this came in. You're tired of your destructive marriage. I get it. Good for you. I'm glad you're tired of it. It's time to say no more to the destruction. That's step one, is just really speaking that out loud. You're tired of the emotional and the verbal abuse. How many of you can relate? It's costing you. We saw exhaustion, isolation, all these things, discouragement, tears, unended tears. I see that you've been crying. You're seeing a therapist. Good for you. Good for you. You're getting support. I hope that they understand domestic abuse. I hope that they understand destructive relationships. All right. You're trying to save up some money. Do you have a safety plan financially, emotionally, and physically? Oftentimes, can I just share, safety is really important. And if there is a lot of verbal and emotional abuse, it can escalate further, and we want you to be safe. So, do you have a place to go? Does some other human being know about your situation? Someone with skin on, God knows. But does someone within your sphere, within 25 miles of you, know about your situation that you can call on for support? You're saying, do you have full access to your financial information? Do you know how much you will need? Do you know in your state legally what you are responsible for and entitled to? We don't give legal advice here. We can't. It would be irresponsible of us to do that. But part of safety planning is taking a holistic look. You know, it's like that card thing again. You've got this deck of cards. Do you know what matters most in order for you to stay safer? And so you said you haven't worked full time since he was born. So you have no money to leave right away. Okay, so you've worked before. What are your skills? Do you know your strengths? You know, I often ask women, what are the resources that you have within, you know, a 25-foot actually radius of you right now? Look around you. You have a computer or a phone, you're here. Are there skills that you can learn and tap into? YouTube is great. There's some things that you can find out so that you can start to make a little bit of money. So let's say I'm going to pause there for a minute because we could probably talk on this topic for hours, but we have other questions here. So she asked about feedback or advice. I want to affirm you and I want to share that there is more that you can discover. What else would you add, Leslie?
Well, you're kind of waiting to see what he is going to do to change. And someone doesn't change unless they know they need to, just like you know you need to change. And so I don't know if he's aware that you're experiencing, like, have you talked to him? And I don't know if it may not be safe to talk to him. So that's a whole other issue. But have you told him, hey, maybe this was normal in your home to talk this way to each other. Maybe this is something that you feel is not a big deal. But for me, it's damaging me and it's damaging my ability to trust you, to want to be intimate with you. When you call me those vile names, I'm sorry, but I don't feel like kissing you. So does he understand and care about the impact it's having on you? And if you say it, like, even if someone does something by accident and they didn't do it on purpose, like if my husband accidentally steps on my toe or knocks into me and I say, ow, he goes, oh, I'm really, he cares about the impact. That's a really big red flag about a friend that you have or someone that you're confronting. Or do they care that this impacts you? And because when you're married to someone, what you're promising is, hey, I don't want my behavior to impact you. I want to care about you. I want to show you love. And so when what they do is damaging you, I think it's time to say, ouch, don't, stop. This hurts me. And if you notice when you say that, he doesn't care. He mocks you. He tells you you're too sensitive. This is the diminishing of you. This is saying you don't matter. Your feelings don't matter. I can do what I want and it shouldn't impact you. You're too sensitive. All of that. And if that's where he's at, you don't have a prayer of him changing because he doesn't care about the impact. So if someone cares about the impact, like if I'm losing my temper all the time with my kids and I see my littles go, Mommy, I care about that impact, right? I care. I don't want my kids to be scared of me. And so I'm motivated to change because I love them. And I don't want to see their little scared eyes, which is what happened to me when they were little. And I started having to learn some self-management of my temper, right? And I thought, I don't want to be like my mom. And so if you don't see this happening in him, then you need to not keep hoping for change. You need to start making a safety plan and strategy. And Leanne's right. There are lots of things you can do right now, right at home with a toddler that you can make money from at home. Learn about them on YouTube, learn about them. We have a whole worksheet on that in our Conquer membership for how do you make extra money, and put all that money aside. Get a free consultation from an attorney. Get your ducks in a row in terms of what are my rights? What are my responsibilities if I leave? I need to know that with child custody, all of those kind of things, so that I can make informed choices to steward my safety and my child's safety, both physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And, partner up with a domestic violence shelter, join our Conquer membership when it's open, attend the workshop for sure. These are things that you can be doing proactively right now, not even leaving yet, but preparing for that day if he doesn't care about the impact his behaviors have on you.
And I just want to give the phone number for that because I get stopped and asked about this a lot. 1-800-799-7233 is the National Domestic Hotline, Domestic Violent Hotline. And you can call them and they can help walk you through a safety plan, help you think about it. And it's a free resource available to you right now. You could jump off of this live when you're done and call that number. There are resources to support you to make wise, conscious decisions.
And so let's say that number again. I'll give it a little bit a different way. It might help you remember. 800. So it's 800, then one less than 800-799 SAFE. Okay, so those are the letters on your phone, that SAFE, the old-fashioned phone. All right, next question. Are there cycles in emotional abuse? Being abusive for a period, then treating you really well for a time? Yes. There's some controversy over identifying every abusive relationship has cycles, but some do. And so this is really, really important. And I'll start with this, Leanne, and then maybe you can answer have you seen it happen? But what happens is they've crossed the line. They know they've crossed the line, right? Maybe you've done it with your kids. You know you blew your temper and you shouldn't have. You've crossed the line. And so you go on good mom behavior for a while, right? You're really not working on yourself. You're just buying time so that your kids know that they love you and that might not even say you're sorry, but you just move into a honeymoon phase. And what that does in a relationship of adults is it lulls you into this belief that, he's changing. He's changing. But what he's doing, if this is a pattern, okay, now for some people, they cross the line and they own it. And they say, like when I saw my kiddos being scared of my temper, I crossed the line. I'm like, I'm not ever doing this again. And I changed, right? So I did change. It didn't become a honeymoon phase. But if this is a repeated pattern in your marriage or in any other relationship where someone does something harmful to you, maybe they apologize, maybe they don't, but they turn into Mr. Wonderful. And now they're all solicitous, they're loving, they're buying you stuff, they're doing the dishes, they're taking care of the kids, they're doing stuff that you've always wanted them to do. And then there's this other blow up again. And then they're nice again, and there's a blow up again. What they're doing is they're doing the same thing they always do. They're just changing strategies. Okay, so if we think about the root of an abusive relationship is one of coercive control. I want what I want when I want, and you're not allowed to say no. So the temper blow up is usually by you protesting something, you wanting to do something that they don't want you to do, you doing something that they didn't want you to do. And so the blow up ugly phase is to control you, to get you to back off, to get you to feel scared, to stop arguing, to stop wanting what you want, to stop spending the money he's so mad about, whatever. And it usually works because if you're scared, you don't, challenge the beast. And then the loving component is just as manipulative to get you to stay in the relationship, to not implement consequences, not call the police, not tell any of your pastor, not tell the truth about what's really going on because, everybody has a bad moment. And, he had a bad, everybody has these moments. And so he's really a good guy. It's manipulative in manipulative. It's just different tools that he's using to manipulate. People can manipulate us with kindness as well as with anger, right? So he's manipulating you to not enforce the consequences of, hey, you impacted me and we need to have a conversation, or you impacted me and you need help. And if you're not willing to do that, get it, but I need to take care of me. I'm not letting myself be treated like this anymore. He doesn't want you to get there. And so he's going to fool you into thinking he's better by being nice and kind and the loving husband you've always wanted to be. Who's the real him? Who's the real him? They're both manipulative. They're just using different strategies.
Yeah. Leslie, I don't have anything else to add. That was beautifully said. And this is, I think, well, maybe I do. Maybe I have one thing to add. And this is be aware. Write down what you notice. Write down what you notice about the cycles that you're in and how the impact is impacting your thoughts and your body. That would be one thing. Because if you are being minimized and you are being manipulated, become aware of that.
All right, here's another question. We have about 10 more minutes, but I'm going to answer this one and then we're going to ask you. So I'll ask you to think about this. What has been your aha moment? Because one of the things that we love for you to do is take action. It's not, information is free and it's out there everywhere. You can get information. You can be on a Facebook Live with somebody or YouTube or every day. All right. But sometimes we get this information. We've been in church for all these years and we don't actually do it. And Jesus says, those who hear these words of mine and don't put it into practice is kind of like a fool. They've built their house on a sandy slope and it's going to go down when trouble hits. And so we want you to kind of take a moment and put your hand on your heart and say, Lord, what is in this today for me? How do I not get corrupted by the evil that's being done to me? How do I not get corrupted by the hate that's been spewed toward me and I return with hate? How do I love without losing me and enabling him? Right? Because oftentimes our love enables someone to continue to harm us, which is a lose-lose cycle. And we're going to talk about that at the webinar. But what's your takeaway from today? And we're going to move into a question and then we're going to ask you again. So we're giving you a moment to think about it. I'm trying to live my life making myself happy. He's noticing and getting crazier, but will not participate with me in what I'm doing. He only wants to do what he wants when he wants. Yeah. So what does that say? What does that tell you?
Yeah. What does that say? And what does that tell you? You know, even as you were typing that out and you're trying to live your life making yourself happy. Me too. Leslie too, right? We do this work and we want to be happier, healthy humans 1 month from now than we are today. So then what is it that you want to keep doing, that you're doing, even if it makes them a little stir crazy? Because here's a hot tip. You can lean in 5% closer, right? Not everybody is going to like the changes that you're making in yourself. And oftentimes as you get healthier, it God allows that to expose some of the unhealthy in other people, and it can make them squirm. And God could use that to get their attention. So part of the work that you get to do is to get out of the way. And it's okay for him to be uncomfortable for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Just make sure that you don't dive into his discomfort and stop doing your personal work and get stuck in what I call the messy middle. Join the webinar for sure. Save your seat. Save your seat because there's going to be a lot of strategies and tools to help
We
you
have
live
over
with that.
600 women signed up already. And so we know there's going to be a robust audience of women just like you. And there's such shame and feeling like I can't make this marriage work. Why won't he love me? And it's not you. You are worthy of love and God has made you for love. But Jesus understood it very well because he wasn't loved by everybody also. And he was the most worthy of love and the most beautiful person that was ever created in flesh. And so I think that we have to not take this personally. It's painful. It's more painful if we think, what's wrong with me? There's something damaged in them, whether it's their sin, it's their trauma, whatever, and they're refusing to seek help. And if you were in an environment where you were breathing in toxic gas all the time, I hope you would say, it's time for me. If you don't want to fix the gas problem, I got to get out of here because I can't get any fresh air. Right? This is the hard thing in marriage is that you may have to separate yourself from this person for them to have an opportunity to say, whoa. Now, they may still not care and just blame you and shame you and villainize you and go find someone else to be their object to use, which is often what happens. And that's a horrible wake-up call, but it's important information to take in, right? It's a horrible wake-up call,
It is.
but it's important information because the truth helps you. Sometimes the truth is really hard. It's ugly. But if you don't face the truth, then you can't make the next right decision, right? So we might find a breast lump and we can lie to ourselves, we can pretend it's nothing, or we can seek the truth. Is it cancer? Is it not? And if it's cancer, that's hard truth. But now I know what to do next. Get some chemo. In this, I don't know what it really is position, I can't make a good decision. So watch his behavior. If you're changing and you're learning to take care of you and be happy, and he's indifferent or critical or possessive or harmful to you in that process, he's saying, I don't want you to be your best self. What a horrible thing in a marriage. I don't want you to be your best self. I want you to be dependent on me for everything. I want you to do everything for me. I don't care about who you are, what you want, what's important to you. You're my wife. You do what I want. And that's the most toxic relationship you could possibly be in. It is not healthy or good.
And it's important that we just say that out loud. This is not healthy or good behavior.
Right.
And owning that and seeing that, Leslie, you asked our listeners, our participants today, what some of their aha moments were.
Mhm.
And one of them is, do we care about the impact? That was meaningful. The patterns that stay, but the strategy changes, right? And then we also have said, I'm having more clarity now that I need to accept who he wants to be and the choices he's making, becoming more confident in my own growth. Way to go.
And
That
what
accepting is
Mhm.
hard. It's hard.
It
I
is, but
love you
isn't
for
that the loving thing, is to accept that they don't want to be any different than they are? And what would be possible if you said, I get it. I get it. You want to be free. You don't want to be constrained by the convention of marriage. You want to be free to sleep with 15 women if you want to. You want to be free to watch porn whenever you want, with no one nagging you, no one confronting you, no one telling you that's not okay. You just want to be able to live your life however you want to live your life with no accountability or responsibility. Is that right? Yeah. I mean, he may fudge that a little bit, but that's what he's showing you. Okay, go do it. Cut the connection. Now he drags you into it and harms you through it. Because now you have to say, but I care about me and this is harming me. I care about you. I'll pray for you. I still love you. I wish you well, but I can't let myself be harmed by this anymore.
Mhm. And we just had a gal share, it's really hard to accept, and it is.
It is.
Acceptance doesn't mean that you agree with it and that you're happy about it.
Mhm. Right. But until you accept it, like accepting this is breast cancer,
That's
you
right.
can't think about the next right step. Right? So the truth does help you. It's awful. And that's why we believe in our organization that you can't do this alone. You need support of women who are in there too, because having the support of wise others alongside of you, and we'll talk about all of this in the webinar. How do you get through this? You don't get through this alone. You weren't created to get through this alone, but it may not be your husband who helps you. It may be a community of women who know what it's like and have been through it, who are going to help you through it.
Indeed.
Yeah. So please, 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 we don't have time for any more questions today. We've been trying really good at staying to an hour. Tomorrow, I'm going to be back and we're going to be talking about how do we tell the difference. So Leanne beautifully talked about one of the first steps is becoming aware of who you are and what you want and all your, your stuff inside. It's not about fixing him. It's about looking within. We're going to talk about what's the difference between a guarded heart. Like the Bible says, guard your heart above all else, right? So what's the difference between guarding, I don't trust you yet, and a hard heart? I don't love you anymore. You're a jerk. What's the difference? And how do we decode the difference? Because we want to be loving without enabling, but we don't want to have a hard heart. That's not That's not who you were created to have. That's Satan's work in your life. That's not God's work in your life. So how do you tell the difference between having a guarded heart, which God calls you to have, and a hard heart? Any final words, Leanne, before we go?
Just so thankful. Thank you all for being here. I just want you to know that we see you, we feel you, we hear you. And we're so grateful that you chose to spend an hour with us. If this has been helpful for you and you know somebody else who may want to join this workshop, this webinar, send them the link. Let them know about the lives that we're going to be doing in the days to come.
Yeah. And hopefully we will see you tomorrow, same time, noon Eastern time, on Instagram, as well as Facebook, as well as YouTube. All right. Take care. God bless.